Welcome to Under the Winged Helmet. For Thomas Guynes and Rob Penn, I'm Kyle Simmons. In week one, the Wolverines won handedly over Colorado State, 51-7. The Wolverines generated 440 total yards, with 234 coming on the ground, while the defense held CSU to just over 200 yards. So, Thomas, what did you think of Saturday's performance?
Saturday's performance was everything that it was supposed to be. Again, early on in the season and playing what I consider to be non-Power 5 football, if you will. These are all of the things that should have taken place. Let's not get caught up in some of the gaudy numbers and the statistics in which the Wolverines did put up, because, as I said before, keyword is should have. These are things that were supposed to have to come to fruition. So with that being said, definitely pleased with how the game went, obviously, but still not putting too much. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid as of yet, so to speak.
Right.
And why is that? Is because of the fact, like I said, these were the things that were supposed to have happened. When you look at the opponent in which we played, when you look at their past record, the things in which they were doing both offensively and defensively, this was definitely a situation or a perfect storm, if you will, for the Wolverines to be successful.
Yeah, it seemed like they rode really good over Colorado State. It looked really good offensively. The running game was looking great, like I said. I agree with everything you're saying. They were supposed to do this,
right?
So, but I'm glad they did, because I think if it would have been a 14-3 win, I think we'd be having a completely different conversation around here right now. So
there's no doubt. I mean, obviously, it was one of those situations where we handily won the game. Wish we could have pitched that shutout. But like I said, I completely concur with your sentiments that if the Rams made this anything close, then the conversation would be totally different. The complexion of the conversation would be, are people hitting the panic mode? So with that being said, obviously, we're comfortable getting ready to come into this Hawaii game against the Rainbow Warriors, another Mountain West team. I think the expectations are the same, possibly even looking for a bigger margin of victory, just after what I watched with the Rainbow Warriors versus Vanderbilt in their first game, and Western Kentucky in the second game against the Hilltoppers. The Rainbow Warriors, try-hard team, just don't necessarily have the premium ingredients to put forth the type of entree one would expect at a top flight restaurant, if you will. They just, recruiting's tough. They don't have the budget that a lot of the top tier teams have. Getting guys to, go out to Hawaii. Hey, it's a great place to go visit, but would I necessarily want to spend the next 4 or 5 years there? What's the availability of my family being able to come see me play on a regular basis? So the Rainbow Warriors face a litany of logistical issues as far as trying to attract, recruit, and most importantly, retain top tier high school athletes to their program. And with that being said, I feel like these are some of the major issues as to why they struggle as a team. I think they can definitely put up some numbers within the conference which they're playing in, but for them to ever be seen as on a national stage as a real contender, they're just not at that level yet.
Yeah, so to kind of back up what you were saying here, when you think about Hawaii, they actually put out a lot of good football players out of that state, a whole lot actually. So you would think that their program there in state would be really good, but it seems like the players are like, I spent my life here, I want to experience something else. And they tend to go to mostly West Coast schools, but it's an interesting thought right there, because they really do put out a lot of good football players out of that state for sure.
What's really awesome is the fact that, just within the Polynesian culture, and backing your point, you got big, athletic, tough individuals that have made a prominent presence in the NFL. And to your point, Utah's, Colorado's, BYU's, Oregon, USC, UCLA.
Right.
So a lot of those, mainland Western schools do actually benefit from the Polynesian culture, the type of football in which they're playing on the islands. But to your point, and as I said earlier, the university thereof just don't have the resources at this particular point in time to retain that homegrown talent. And I think that's what we're seeing as far as the University of Hawaii Rainbow Warriors struggling right now as a team. They were making some noise back in the early 2000s. Their head football coach was a top tier quarterback doing a lot of big things as far as throwing the pill around. The university was able to bring him back. So hopefully for them, on a positive note, because he was able to experience some team and personal success, that level of magic hopefully is going to rub off on the university and that team. But again, it takes more than just one man. That school, that institution, the donors, the boosters are all going to have to be on the same accord, because at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, college football is a business, and business is good for those that have already had money. For those institutions that are still kind of struggling to keep up with the haves, I think that wealth margin, if you will, is going to get even greater, especially because of the NIL deals that a lot of these individuals, these athletes, are able to get even before actually signing their national letter of intent. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Rainbow Warriors come into the big house, play in front of that 100,000+, being able to play on that national stage. It's an 8:00 kick. So hopefully that they're up to meeting that challenge. But as I said before, the prevailing thoughts are the Wolverines are going to come in and hopefully do what the Wolverines are supposed to do. I'm looking for us to hang at least 50 on these guys. If the Hilltoppers put up 49, I'm looking for us to hang some big numbers on the Rainbow Warriors. And that's not to belittle or beat these guys down, but I'm hoping by the time the second half rolls around, we're getting our 2s and 3s an opportunity to get in there, get some good game time experience, get a little bit more seasoning on them in game situations, and come out with another expected W for the Wolverines.
Yeah, because the Wolverines are heavily favored in this game. In fact, I read that it's a record. I know we won't really get into point spreads and things like that on this show. We don't need you guys coming after us like that.
Right.
But I was like, wow, they're 51-point favorites. They must expect a big game out of Michigan. And I looked and I was like, oh, well, they just lost to Vanderbilt 63-10. So
right.
I was like, okay, well, it's going to be a tough week here for Hawaii. But with that,
and that's the interesting thing too, though, expectations. The target is now, the target's always on our back, right? We are the Michigan Wolverines. We play in the largest stadium in the country, storied program, 2 Heisman Trophy winners, umpteen individuals in the NFL and Hall of Famers. So with that being said, I'm looking for the type of game that we play. If we win, great. Yeah, we were supposed to win, but how did we win?
Right.
I want a clean game. I want us to play, all systems go, and making sure that we're doing the little things. Let's not be sloppy just because we feel like the level of competition is somewhat beneath us. Let's play to the expectations of how Michigan football is supposed to be played. Let's make sure that we're getting the proper execution. We're taking care of the ball. We're wrapping up, and we're being assignment sound on both sides of the ball and within special teams.
JJ McCarthy's getting a start in this game. So as we're sitting there saying, we're expecting for Michigan to have a really good game. So what does JJ have to even do in this game to, I guess, take control of this quarterback battle that's going on?
What's funny is this. I've been using this metaphor the last couple of days. People have been asking me about, Cade and JJ. Cade, in my opinion, is the Honda Accord that you know is always going to start up. It's always going to get you from point A to point B, right? Got us to the Big Ten championship, gets us to the win, gets that monkey off our back against that team from down south. So you know what you're getting in a Cade McNamara, right? But with JJ, and as I said before, this is a business. College football is a business, and it's the business of entertainment. Let's not get it mixed up between athletics and entertainment. It is what it is. It brings the crowd out. People are looking for a level of excitement. And JJ is that, candy apple red Ferrari that, has got the awesome sounding exhaust, able to do 0 to 60 in 2.3 seconds, and all of these different attributes that one will look for in an expensive European-made sports car. That's what people want at this particular point in time. So what am I looking to JJ to get? What I'm looking from JJ is take care of the football. Make the plays in which you're supposed to play. Show us that you have a sound grasp of the offense and that your ego doesn't outweigh your ability to make sound decisions on the football field. We have a young man that has a wealth of athletic ability. We have a young man that has a wealth of confidence in that athletic ability. Sometimes that'll come back and bite you in the butt because you feel like you can make plays that aren't necessarily the smartest plays. I remember last year, I forgot the game, he rolls out to the right and throws like a 60-yard dart across his body, across the field. And it was a completion. Football wisdom says we don't make that play because of all of the bad things that can happen. More bad things can happen than good, right? So in saying that, when you make dangerous plays and you make them successfully, it furthers emboldens you to continue to try to make those type of plays. And you can only live on that razor's edge for so long before you eventually either cut your foot or completely fall off. So that's what I'm looking for out of JJ. Now, out of Cade, I'm looking for a level of emotional maturity. I wasn't really impressed with Cade's body language in his press conference at the end of the CSU game. Arms crossed, you kind of see that almost annoyed look on his face upon answering some of the questions. So you can tell that pressure is kind of getting to him a little bit as far as, hey, I won a Big Ten championship last year as a starter. Now, all of a sudden, why am I still finding myself fighting for my job? So I'm hoping that at least once the preseason of this season concludes, that the Michigan staff will be set on who our starting quarterback is going to be. Now, my fear, I know Coach Harbaugh definitely likes to reward his veterans and take care of the veterans, if you will. With that being said, does JJ stick around for that? The transfer portal is going to be huge probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks with guys picking up and changing helmets, so to speak. So I just want to make sure that we are able to keep a talent like JJ, keep him satiated enough where he feels like his worth here as a quarterback, not just a guy that takes the snap and runs the ball, but as a quarterback, that he feels like that his skill set is definitely holding a high level of value here down in Schembechler Hall. Now, on the flip side of that, if we're going to go with JJ, let's make that early so that if Cade decides to enter the portal, let that young man figure out what's going to be the best place for him to land upon leaving Ann Arbor at this point. Let's continue to, I salute you, Cade, but we definitely feel like we are going to be able to get more bang for our buck running with JJ at this particular point in time in his career. So, we appreciate everything you've done for the program. We wish nothing but the best for you. Hopefully you land on your feet where your athletic and quarterback abilities are going to be able to be best used.
I agree, because like I was saying, let's just say JJ goes out here and has a stellar performance. Does this help Jim Harbaugh get any closer to a decision here? You have two good quarterbacks. I feel like him having a good game is also just creating a bigger problem because now we're going to go into week 3 and people are going to kind of start expecting like, well, who's the guy? And I got this feeling like it's going to still might be some uncertainty going after week 2.
It depends on what type of game JJ has.
Mm-hmm.
JJ has a boring yet successful game. I think that continues to pose a problem as far as who do we go with, right? You know, what is differentiating JJ from Cade? Now, if JJ goes out there and just lights it up, both running and pass, making good decisions, taking care of the ball, rallying the troops, you see. And that's another thing I think a lot of people don't take into consideration is how effective is that quarterback in the huddle? How inspiring is that quarterback to his teammates? One of my issues that I had during the Colorado State game is when we took that sack. And, you know, as an offensive lineman, I'm always watching, you know, my fat kids up front. And when our right tackle got beaten, just, you know, not the best of technique, but what I found even more concerning was his lack of concern with his quarterback. Cade gets sacked, he's laying there on the ground, and I'm watching the tackle's body language. Doesn't even go over there to try to help his guy up or to get, you know, opposing players off of him. Kind of looks over, turns around, and walks in the opposite direction. For me, that was something in which hopefully our offensive line coach addressed within the O-line meeting room, but that also kind of raises some flags as to if that was JJ,
mm-hmm.
you know, our guys running over there to his defense, hey, get off my quarterback type deal. I'm not saying that this is the case, that guys aren't playing hard for Cade. I'm not saying that there's any trouble brewing in the locker room. It's just about observation of what I saw and what I know normal offensive line culture to be, especially if I'm the one that gave up the sack. I'm going to go over there, hey, my bad, QB, dust you off. Let's get the next one. I got you covered on the next one. But that's not what I saw out of that particular player after that play. So just something in which I want to keep my eye on as far as our quarterback's ability to rally the team around them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you know, for us, for media guys, I mean, it's great for us. We have something to talk about, but this is not a second week we're talking about it, and this is how much longer is this going to keep going on? So hopefully we'll get some crystal clear answers here in the next week or two about the quarterback situation. But for the keys to the game against Hawaii, we'll go to Rob.
1, get the playmakers the ball. Let's get Corum, Edwards, Ronnie Bell going early so we can get them in and get them out. 2, make a national statement. Like last week when we played Colorado State, we need to do the same thing, if not more, this week. Hawaii is a less formidable opponent than Colorado State, so we should have no issue putting up 60s or 70 points there and being really able to stay within that top 4 there in the country. 3, stay healthy. These trap games like this, they often lead to injuries, and you can see Ronnie Bell last year with him blowing out his knee and gone the entire season. We have to stay healthy. Let's get these guys in, like I said, in key number 1. Get them going early, get them out the game so we can get our second and third teams in so they can sustain and get some experience there. Stay healthy. Let's get out of here with a big victory. Go Blue.
Thanks for that insight, Rob. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode of Under the Wings Helmet. Thomas, as usual, it's great talking to you and hearing your insight into the program. For Rob Penn, I'm Kyle Simmons. Go Blue.
Go Blue.
Hey, hey, hey.